Hello, Javid. How are you today?
Good, Mondweep. How are you?
Well, thank you. Okay, so we're here today to talk about things that are AI and things that inspire us around learning, using, and scaling. To, I guess, I would love to hear more about your story because I've been really inspired to see some of the work you have done, and I think, yeah, looking forward to it. So, Javid, tell us more about your journey about in AI and tell us more about what our audience can learn more from some of the experiences that you have had.
Yes, of course. Thank you very much, Mondweep. Beautiful Sunday afternoon to be talking about this. So, I think I started digging into AI maybe 3 months ago now, 3 or 4 months ago. Obviously, like everyone does, went into chatgpt.com, typed a few prompts, and I thought, okay, this works, as in it's workable in terms of maybe helping me writing an email, or I'm not very good at writing emails, just to put it out there. So I can just dump my ideas onto that and say, now make it sound beautiful, and it does. So that's how it started. Um, I also, as a hobby, have a few servers running at home, nothing major. So I thought, well, maybe I can run something and then feed in all of my information to it, um, so that I can ask it questions and put in some PDFs and see how it goes. And it's actually not too bad. So over the last few months, like I said, started with ChatGPT, and then as you start looking into these things on YouTube and all the other social media, you keep seeing that new things are coming out, and then DeepSeek came out, and then OpenAI came out with a new model. Now they're talking about DeepSeek R2, which is going to be even more, even smarter and cheaper. So we'll see. So yeah, that's how it started. I'm a little bit techie. I like coding. That's how I started my career. So
I'm
this is
reminded. I'm
something
reminded.
definitely interests me.
Yeah, so sorry to interrupt, but I remember, like, I think the way we started talking about this topic is when we met somewhere and you asked me, like, I think you asked me, like, you've been very active creating some content. I think that's how our conversation
Yes,
started, didn't it? And I
yes,
said,
yes,
yeah, I've
yes,
been really loving it. And I came across some of these agentic AI architectures. And I think I remember I mentioned to you about Creo AI. And I said, Creo
I
AI allows
remember.
you to
Yeah,
create
you
this.
showed me a list. Yeah, you showed me a list. I think the first one on there was 11 labs, and I was like, I use 11 labs.
Exactly. Because I think the whole point about, but I didn't know some of the other, like I started out more from, I guess, coding agents, like with QAI. So you create an agent, give it a role, give it a goal, give it some tools to do things. But I guess the whole point about no code or low code approach about, I guess I might have seen this, but never took them seriously, like N8N, the tooling framework, and you showed me
Yes,
some of the stuff around it, and that really kind of quite intrigued me, and I kind of went on a journey to learn those myself.
it's very
But
powerful
it's
what these things can.
quite amazing to see how the whole capabilities have been democratized. Anything with a curious mind, with an intent to learn, and I think everyone has a different motivation to get started. Like I have been close to technology personally, but I guess there have been things like you don't necessarily get into executing certain things unless kind of you are driven to it for some reason. I had my own reasons to be there. Tell us about your reasons, like why did you think about and I guess you've said you're close to technology and other things, but what inspired you to get started in the first place? Is it a recent 3-month journey, or has there been more things that have
The
pushed you to
AI
think?
side of it has definitely been recent. It's not more than 3 months. And when I started, the thing that kept coming up over and over again is RAG, and
Retrieval,
Agentic
augmented
AI.
generation.
I had no idea until until I spent some time, properly Googled it, tried to understand, watched like 20 videos, and then I got it. Okay, this is what it means. But initially, 3 months ago, I had no idea. And because these terms were popping up over and over again, that's when I decided to see, okay, where is this going? And obviously, there were other tools like Zapier and Make.com, but I think NA10 was just starting to pick up, or maybe it's just what the YouTube feed was for me at the time. And looking at NA10, it just, for me, it felt very intuitive. And the option that I could host it myself, so it's completely free. I don't have to have it on someone else's server. I can have it on my laptop. I can have it on my server. I can run that thing on my own. Of course, it'll go and talk to different APIs, different AIs all over the place. But
so your own AI, effectively. So I think where you are getting here, unless I spoiled the story here.
No, not at all. The fact that I can run it myself has always been something that I try to do. Now, I live in the countryside. Broadband is absolutely horrible. I struggle with a 32 Mbps broadband.
That's in the UK, by the way.
That's in the UK. Yes. I actually have fiber broadband connected last week, so I might see a few changes now. But all of this time, I've lived here for 10 years in this particular property, and we've had very bad broadband. 3 kids, everyone's on the tablet, so that's why I have my own server. That's why I host my own content. It gives me control over what the kids are watching.
So how does that look like? Do you have a room full of machines, laptop?
At the moment, it's grown to a full-size server. It's behind my desk. And probably
behind your desk.
Yes, it's behind my desk, but essentially, it's half the size of a normal work desk.
Oh, okay.
Which is, not absolutely massive, but it can't go in the living room, for example. But when I started back in probably 10, 15 years ago now, my first server was a Raspberry Pi, which is the credit card sized computer, the little one. And it was a Raspberry Pi 1, which was extremely underpowered. And that was the first server, because what I wanted at that point was I had a whole bunch of photos and I was running out of space on Google Drive or Google Photos, or I think it's a problem that people still face. So attached a few hard drives, installed something called Nextcloud, or was it called OwnCloud back then? Essentially, their thing was, it's a cloud server, and you host it, and it's your own, so it's not on someone else's place. So that's what drove me to start this thing. And obviously, that thing has now grown into a full-size server. It had multiple iterations along the way, and I think that whole thing is now starting again with AI. So it started very small using chat prompts, and now I've got NA10 hosted, and I'm running a few workflows, and it does a few things that I would normally spend hours doing. That's generally repetitive. And
so we're going to go into
it.
So we'll go into that. But I'm very curious about, I thought, when you stick with server and a server setup, it just takes a lot of space. But I'm very intrigued by your saying it's like behind your desk and it's a half the size of your work desk. Any way you can show me how that looks like? I'm very curious to see.
I probably can. Just give me one moment.
And why don't I take a Raspberry Pi? My son was actually taking some coding lessons recently, and he was being sent a small Raspberry Pi. So I'm very intrigued. Is there a way? Does it need how accessible is it? What does it mean for people who are just curious? They have a curious bent of mind and to progress. How do they get started? Would love to kind of delve into.
Let me join on my mobile phone, and I'll show you a photo of the server.
Oh, okay, all right.
Okay, that should be better.
We got 2 of you now.
Is that better?
Oh, yeah. There's no echo now.
Right.
Okay.
How have I done that? Yes.
Oh, that's
So
your server. It's like a music system, actually. It's nothing bigger than a music system, a good sound
massive.
system, right?
Yeah,
Ah.
it's not massive. Wait, let me just switch over to this one because it's just going to make life easier.
Okay.
Right. You still hear me?
There's a bit of echo. Now there's no echo. But you are on mute on both the systems.
Right.
Now
that
it's
should,
good.
that
Now
should,
it's okay.
Stop.
Ah,
Okay.
okay. All right.
So, it's bigger than it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Only machine that's actually doing anything is this one down here.
So it's a normal size desktop.
It's a
all the desktop size.
unit. Yeah, it's a 2-unit rack server, and
Okay.
yeah, it's got 8 hard drives on it.
Okay, so you got 8 hard drives. What is a bit above that? What are the
8
functions
hard
there?
drives. They're all 16 terabyte hard drives with redundancy, so any 2 can fail, and I'll still have everything.
Right.
And that gives me about somewhere close to 90 terabytes of storage.
90 terabytes of storage. Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
So when I said running out of Google's drive space,
Yeah.
I can have all the cameras that I own on full K recording 24 hours, and I'm not running out of space there.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not going to run out of space. We'll come back to this. I'll show you on the when I share my screen. I'll show you what's actually running in there. But from a hardware perspective, yeah, it's I want to say about a 3 feet deep,
Okay.
a couple feet wide. So it's not massive. That's really powerful. That's quite a powerful server, actually.
Okay. Maybe you can share as notes we can leave behind the specifications of your server as well, if someone else wants to kind of go for it. But yeah, that's great. It's very, very kind of instructive to see in physical form how a server could look like, because people generally think about huge expenses of.
Yeah, it's not absolutely massive. Yeah, I mean it can run much. It can be much simpler. I mean, the next one is a playground. It's off at the moment, but that's if I'm not doing something that runs, like, that's my production server. So if I run something that's as a playground, I just want to test something, then I spin that up, test it, and then I can spin that down again. So essentially, that's a playground. That's a backup server. If I open that up, that's got 4 hard drives on it. And these are, I believe, 2 terabyte hard drives. And it just backs up the important stuff, like the photos. So, yeah, that's, and the virtual machines in here. So if this thing ever crashes, I can just rebuild it from the backups in there. And when this one boots up, that backs up everything as well. So I've got 3 copies. These are blanks, so there's nothing there, essentially.
Right.
That's my home computer, the desktop system.
Right.
And that's, I think, about 13 years old now. Still works. So I'm thinking about replacing this with a mini PC, because it's so old. A mini PC is going to be way more powerful than that.
Of course.
And that is just an extra server. I'm using it as a shelf right now, as you can see. So yeah, the server rack doesn't need to be that big.
You're not using the top.
I'm not using it. No, it's completely disconnected, powered off. I just don't want to have an empty spot there.
What kind of CPU or compute power do you have in the server rack, or the active server at least? Like, what kind of things can you do?
So the 2-unit ones, these ones, the 2-unit ones are all Intel Xeon, the dual CPUs, but they're all about 6-7 years old. So about the 2.83 gigahertz range, dual Intels. This one's a single Intel, similar. That's an Intel as well. That's, again, all Intel Xeons, except the desktop, which is a normal Intel i7, I believe.
Okay.
So yeah, it's in terms of compute, I'll show you. I'll show you in the when I share my screen what each of these servers look like.
Okay.
But yeah, essentially, what's running at the moment is just that server, which I'll show you in detail, and that server, which is the backup server. That's the only two things that run 24/7. And the rest of it is just sort of space that I have when I think it's gonna grow up to at some point. But the way the market's moving at the moment, I don't think I'm ever gonna have to buy another server of this size ever again. I might have to keep that one on going forward if I change that from a playground to a production server at some point. But yeah, it essentially that much. It's the size of a music rack, like you said. It's not massive.
Service some of your neighbors with their needs.
Yeah, absolutely. I
was quite amazed to hear from you the other day about your son. Basically, looking at his favorite YouTube channels, and I hear all you needed was actually just your mobile signal to go to your server, and then you build something to kind of remove all the ads that generally come up on YouTube feeds.
Yes. Let me share my screen. I'll show you, because there's quite a few things that run on these servers. So all of that stuff is running in here.
Okay.
Right. Share screen. Let's see how to do this.
Once you do that, I mean, what I was intrigued, like this morning, I was reading a little bit, and I've had this thought about data centers and the size of data centers and what and how. And I think where we're going here is the whole concept of, I think we can touch upon this later on, of micro and small data centers and what that means from sustainability point of view, or
exactly
community empowerment. I think these are themes that deserve some thought. But anyways, let's look at what you've got.
Yeah. Actually, coming back to that, might sort of, you've seen the size of the data center, but like I said, initially it started with a Raspberry Pi. I probably have one that, just to show what it looks like. This is a Raspberry Pi 4. I believe, it's a 4. So it's that, and it sits in a plastic box.
That deserves a place on your wall, behind your wall. I think you should put it.
I think it does, yeah, because that's completely bare, isn't it? So there's quite a few things to go there. I had reserved it for my other hobby, which you know about, but I think
we'll come to that as well. I want to.
Because I've got like bits and pieces that stuff that can go on the wall now. Anyway, right. So you can see my screen, right?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so
you can make it a bit bigger. Maybe I think it's a bit too small might be too small for some people. Yeah, it's legible now.
It's dynamic, doesn't it? Keeps resizing. Anyway, so this is a dashboard. It's got some of the services that I run, and this is not all of the services. So this is just some of them that I like to have on my dashboard. This is a live dashboard, so you can see things sort of change around, and most of it is sort of real data. So the thing that you just spoke about, where we disable ads, it's called Pi-hole.
Just for the benefit of, I kind of probably fast-tracked it. Help explain. Give us what does it mean? What's the problem statement? What is the outcome that you are able to achieve? Help our audience understand that first.
So, like I said, 3 kids on the tablet all the time. And I've noticed that every time they open an app, play a video, or do whatever, there's ads all over the place. Or even while you're browsing the website, there's ads all over the place. And yes, you can pay and remove ads on one platform at a time. So every time you buy a game, you can go and pay and remove the ads, and that sort of thing. But what I chose to do was to disable ads at the whole network level. So anyone connected to my home Wi-Fi or plugged in or however, connected to my home network will not get served any ads at all. Well, I'd say it's 100%, but it's more like 99%. But even getting rid of 99% of your ads is massive, isn't it? In things like games and usual apps that the kids look at, the ads are completely gone, and it blocks quite a bit of YouTube ads as well. But it's a bit of a competition as to the ad blockers and people who are showing the ads. So there's always a little bit of this way and that way. But in terms of general apps, it completely gets rid of the ads. So yeah, that's the approach. The software itself is called Pi-hole, which is what you can see there on the screen, and it's had 291,000 queries today, of which it has blocked 3%, which is 9,919 queries. So basically, what that means is a query. It's a network query. So it'll go and pull the ad from the ad server and then display it to you. So when it tries to pull the ad from the ad server, that's where Pi-hole intercepts it. And being a bit more technical, basically it asks for the domain name, and this is it tells you that this domain doesn't exist, or something in those lines. And therefore the app on the other side thinks, okay, the ad server doesn't exist or is not working at the moment, so therefore I'm unable to show an ad, and therefore the ad doesn't appear.
To put some kind of meat on the bone here, so if I am a advertiser and I am working with Google to make sure my products are featured in the blog posts that you as a user is going to access, or a YouTube video your child is trying to access, you're going to go to the browser and type the address or do a search. It's going to go to Google. Google is then going to say, hey, it's an opportunity for Mondweep's ads to be displayed to Javid so he can sell his stuff. So he's going to, therefore, Google's going to pull my ads and try to put it in the browser response, the response that goes into your browser. But because your browser response will first hit the server, which is this server that you're showing, it will say, Pi-hole will say, hey, I don't exist anymore. Something is wrong here. So therefore, Google feels like, okay, there's no point displaying the ads. So all it does is serve the content that you had originally searched for. Is that kind of right? I'm kind of being too simplistic here.
Yes, that's what it achieves.
Okay.
That's what it achieves. So if you give me an example of a website where you'd normally have ads, because I've lost track these days, I don't get ads anymore, and open the website, and now the ads will load.
Yes, they do.
So I don't know. There's I don't think BBC shows ads, do they? But if they did, the ads wouldn't appear. Well, I'm sure MSN shows ads, right?
They do. Yahoo shows or Times of India shows. Assam Tribune shows as well nowadays.
Do they?
It's very difficult to get assamtribune.com now. If you go to assamtribune.com, and I think we should promote Assam a bit.
Let's do that.
It's on my browser, definitely. If I go to my browser here and I'm trying to type that address here,
is it assamtribune.com?
I think we can show both of our screens to see how it looks like. Okay. That is how, and I see loads and loads. I almost clicked on an ad. Oh, wow, it's full of ads. And there's none. So that's your screen.
That's my
I'm going to show you how my screen looks like as well. So I'm going to share my screen now. So that's your screen. And this is my screen. So share now. And I'm going to select my particular Windows tab. This is how it looks. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
This is how it looks to me. And yours was, none of this was there. And that's yours. I can see yours on the right-hand side. That's yours. This is mine.
Yes.
I'm obviously connected to regular internet with my modem. You have your server. And you have no ads.
Yeah. It's just, all of it is just content. Yes. There's no ads.
Okay. So this is, so how does this work, did you say? In your Pi-hole, that's the software you have installed.
Yes. So what I've done in there's a bit of configuration in the back end, and let's sort of keep that to a more technical podcast or something like that. But
of course,
essentially, as the name suggests, Pi-hole, it's designed to run in a Raspberry Pi. If I can still find it, yeah, in a Raspberry Pi. So it's very basic instructions. You need one of these. An old one works perfectly fine. This is obviously disconnected. This is relatively new with the Raspberry Pi 4. This Raspberry Pi, the other one, is actually a Raspberry Pi 2, which I don't know how many years old it is now. That still works absolutely fine. So I've not moved it. It just works. So it's designed to run on a Raspberry Pi, which you can hide behind your sofa or wherever. So the broadband modem or router which your service provider provides you. If you need to go in there, there's a little bit of a setting. You need to change the DNS and set it to the DNS of the Raspberry Pi. There's a bit of installation, but it's meant to be user-friendly. If you go through the instructions, I think it's pi-hole.com, the website where they host this. If you go through the instructions, it doesn't take more than 30 minutes to set it up. Set it up, plug it in, just plugs in with a basic Ethernet wire. Plug it into the back of your wireless router. It's probably a USB powered thing, and then it just lives behind the router.
This definitely is something to deep dive in our future podcast.
Yes.
That's exciting.
On that. But yeah, bit of configuration, and then you achieve that across the network. So on all of on your phone, on all of the computers connected to your Wi-Fi. It's a network level ad blocker, so all ads just gone.
I'm going to pull us back to, I think, my fault. I went off tangents here. Come back to where we are. We're talking about AI here, right? So, but I think it's right. We're coming from fundamentals, right? From fundamentals of hardware setup. Exactly, but you were telling us more about the services broadly in your, and I think what I propose is we go through that, and then maybe we focus a bit about some of the applications of AI that you have actually done, and then we can focus that maybe for the next few minutes.
Let's do that. Mm-hmm. So in terms of the servers, these are the servers that you see. That's the main server, the one that I showed you right at the bottom. That's the backup server, the thin one with the 4 drives. And that's the one that I said, the playground, that's been turned off at the moment, which is why that's red. And within that, if I open that up, I use something called Proxmox. It's a virtualization environment. It's essentially like having a software like VirtualBox or something, where you can run a virtual PC. And I've got a few servers running in there. And the ones we're going to talk about are Sideswipe and Ironhide. These two are where most of my...
Can you make it a bit bigger? It's a bit...
containers run.
Yes, that's better. That's better. That's definitely better.
So that's I use Proxmox Virtual Environment. That's the name of my server, the R730. That's the model number for the Dell server. And then, these are all of the virtual machines that are running. I've switched off the Windows 10 because I've sort of moved on to Windows 11 at this point. But everything else is Linux. All the other servers are Linux servers, except for these two and that. There's one of the Pi-holes over there, which I showed, and the other one's running in the backup server, and they both sort of back each other up so that when I'm doing server maintenance, the other one picks it up. But in terms of AI, I have a few Docker environments where I run most of this stuff. So we'll be talking about this one called Starscream, which, if you look at it from a hardware perspective, 12 GB of RAM, 4 cores, hard drive is 32 gigs, so not massive. There's another backup hard drive, but that's where most of
But it's like you said, you run your AI workloads here. But when you say AI workloads, could you help us understand? Is that more like related automation, or are you using it to train? I'm presuming it's more for the former. You're not necessarily using it to train models, or
I am not training any models.
Okay.
Because the hardware I've got, this is where I've got actually the hardware, because you see the PCI devices. These are the graphics cards
So you're very much a user of AI in your
Yeah,
persona, right? So
be a user of.
you're someone who's able to use AI to simplify your lives and basically make you more productive, and basically get the AI to be your real value-added assistant. That's what kind of your persona type is, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
So coming back into AI, should we just jump into the platform then?
Yeah.
The N10 platform. So N10, like you mentioned before, there's quite a few platforms. When I started, N10 was sort of picking up. I found it really easy to use. So as you can see, some of my older workflows, created 2nd of February. So yeah, not very old. This N10, I've been hooked onto N10 just over a month now, about 6 weeks-ish. If you can see the earliest creation dates, 31st January. So, that's
Could
how
you make it
old.
a little bit, magnify the view a bit?
Yeah. Is it because of
Yeah,
my screen?
better.
Why does it appear so? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's better. That's
So
better.
yeah, 31st January. There may be one or two a little bit older than this, but that's
Right.
about the timeline when I started.
I'm noticing something called aircraft booking notification.
Yes, that's the other hobby. That's the other
cool.
hobby. So I'm a private pilot and an instructor, and yes, so every time someone books the aircraft, I've got an automation that sends me a notification. There's obviously broader plans on what I want to do with it, but yeah, we'll go through some of these workflows and see how everything works. So if I go back to the first one, shall we? Let's pick one.
Mhm.
Pick up the kids YouTube one.
Yeah, choose one.
Yeah,
Show us
let's go and do that one. So this one creates YouTube shorts.
So it creates YouTube shorts. Oh, that looks
Yes,
like a spaghetti over there for me.
that definitely looks like a spaghetti, and it takes a few weeks to build this. But let's go through them one by one.
Okay.
And I'll give you a brief explanation of what it does, what the output looks like. Let me see if I can just show what the output looks like, just for one of them. And then, all right, that's what it creates. That's a video.
Once upon a time, in a land filled with wacky rumors, lived Alex, a curious boy with a knack for science. He heard that alligators live in sewers and decided to investigate. Armed with his homemade gizmo, his sewer scope made of pipes and a phone camera, Alex ventured below. Instead of giant reptiles, he found lost toys and friendly but shy critters. Disappointed but undeterred, he then tackled the myth that yawning is always.
Anyway, so you get the point. Right,
so creating content.
It's a shorts, YouTube shorts format content, about a sort of 30-second ish content. So the way I do it is, first I prompt an AI to give me a story, and we'll go through the prompts. Don't worry about the spaghetti. What we really want to look at is this AI agent right here on top. This is what gives us a story. And if I open it and see what am I asking it to do? So I'm saying you're a creative AI agent that acts as a content creator for children's videos. Your task is to generate fast-paced videos aged 8 to 17. And I say approximately 60 seconds because I speed up the audio and then make it twice as fast, and therefore it ends up as a 30-second video. But at this point, the AI doesn't know that I'm going to do that, so I say, give me a 60-second video. And then I sort of have...
So you can describe like what is the goal, like what it should do.
And these days, AI is, I've put in, I don't know, people might not like this point, but I've put this in anyway, just to see it, because otherwise everything comes back as they. And being at my age, I get a little bit confused as to why everything is called day. So I've put that in just to see. End of the day, this is an experiment to see.
It's your content, I guess. Your
If
content, and you're
yeah,
kind of giving your views. Yeah,
yes,
that's good. I
so,
mean, I understand that.
that's the prompt. And then it creates the story. It creates a directory, and then the next AI agent, which is this. So all of these big boxes are essentially they've got some AI component to it, and then it creates a title and description, and then it goes and puts it in a database.
Okay.
So
So these nodes are like modules of basically abstracted code that helps you. Are they out of the box, or do you have to write some code?
Out of the box. I can create one in a bit after we've sort of gone through the create a very simple one and show you what it looks like.
Okay.
Yeah, most of these everything is out of the box. The only, as we discussed, this is a no-code platform, but you can code if you like. But everything is essentially drag and drop. You can add stuff from here, so advanced AI, and then pick an AI agent, and then you get a box like that.
So for the benefit of our audience, could you give a background of like what's your day job, like what's your background, and like just so that for I guess.
That's what I'm doing this.
Okay.
Right. I mean, my day job has actually nothing to do with this. I'm an IT consultant. I work on SAP, and so what my day job is basically project management, that sort of thing. It's got nothing to do with this. But like I say, I started as a developer, so I understand code. There's a lot of programming languages these days. Back when I started, there weren't a lot. You either know C, C++, or you're not a programmer. That's how it used to be. And then nowadays, no one talks about those languages anymore because they're ancient. So that's the day job. Like I spoke about the other hobby, I'm a flight instructor on the weekends. Would have been a nice day to fly, but my student cancelled, which is why we're here. Yeah, so in my free time, I build the server rack that you saw, automations, the home automations, which is probably another thing you've seen over here. Home Assistant runs a whole bunch of automation, which is probably one for another day. And this stuff now, AI, as of the last 6 weeks, did we say? Yeah, as of the last 6 weeks, it's this. So yeah, that's what it is essentially. It's for me, and the YouTube channel associated with this is essentially just an experiment to see whether someone like me, who isn't in their early 20s, let's be honest, not sitting in a basement writing code, 3 kids, other stuff to do, can pull something like this off. Like use AI, use free to use AI, because that's, again, this is an experiment that I don't want to spend any money on. So essentially, all of this for me is free. Now, I know people will say that I've got the servers, I've paid for them, but most of them are off eBay, costing about 50 quid. Yeah, the hard drives cost a bit of money, but the servers not really. So for me, I've got to run the servers anyway, because I've got all this other stuff running. There's a whole load of other stuff running except for the ad blocker and the home assistant and other things. So for me, I want to have everything on my servers physically, and I want it to be accessible like a cloud. Because as you can see, it's being accessed through my domain, not a local domain. And you can access this as well, with the right credentials. It's all protected through HTTPS, so it's nice and secure. So yeah.
You're touching on some very interesting themes, I guess. The buzzwords. I think what I can see, the buzzwords actually being applied in your case, or implemented. People talk about own your own AI, own your own data. Data is oil. You need to kind of leverage the data that you generate for your own benefit.
Yes.
You have your own data in your home.
Yes.
Right? You have your AI capability. Yes, you're using free to use AI, but you are using AI to serve you for certain stuff. And I think what I also understand is this entire software platform that you're showing on your screen is actually hosted on your server.
That is
So
correct.
although
Yes.
you are using free to use code, AI code, the code is actually resident at your home. So effectively, the processing and the data is not going anywhere. It's with you. So
Uh,
you have
Not entirely. Yes.
okay.
For the vast majority of it, yes. So in terms of this platform, this N8N platform that you're looking at, where we've got all of these automations, and is running on my server. However, the AI queries are using external APIs. So we're using Gemini Flash 2.0 over there, which is then sending, it is sending
I
that
understand
query
that.
across
Okay,
across Google.
I get it.
Yes,
So it's basically using. Mhm.
I'm not hosting the AI itself. It's possible to do, and I am hosting certain bits of the AI where I feel it is critical that if it's something to do with a client project or a personal information, it will actually sit in my physical hardware. The AI itself, nothing goes outside. So let's say, for example, there's a large language model like Google's model or
Mhm.
ChatGPT, or I could have any model.
DeepSeek as Chinese ones as well. Mhm.
Yes. I could host it on Olama, which I do actually. I've got Olama sitting in a LAN in Ironhide, which was one of the servers that you saw previously. Sitting physically in that server, and within Olama you could download any of the models. So that's just the model,
Mhm.
and then you have a vector database to hold all of your project information. So let's say I have a client, there's a big IT transformation program that's going to happen, and there's 200 documents that they've provided on how the system works. And you need to onboard a new project manager, and you need to get him running in the next 3 days. It's impossible for this person to go through hundreds of documents. So you put everything in the vector store, you spin up Olama, and you tell it to create an onboarding document, and it's going to capture everything. Now, you can imagine what the human involvement would be to produce something like that and stay up to date with all of the changes, because in the middle of a transformation program, you are essentially transforming. So the keeping up with that sort of change, that you could host it completely internally. You don't have it doesn't have to query. I'm using Google Gemini for this case because I'm asking it to create a story which I'm going to publish on YouTube anyway. Right. So
Okay.
there's no.
So do you have so just for the benefit of just for the benefit of our audience, I guess, vector database, the terminology, it refers to kind of thinking about it as space, right? A multidimensional space in which various words are grafted together into a knowledge graph. So you can plane the relationship or the symbolic relationship between the different meanings of words that you're putting into that within Code's database. So when you ask a question in a natural language, it
Yes.
can navigate those symbolic links and the symbolic roots to give you a response which is meaningful. So if I'm correct, that's what a vector database achieves you to.
That is, yes.
Right?
We could, if you want to shift to that, let me actually show you how that would look like. I don't have a fully working version at the moment, but
Yeah.
I definitely have at least the N8N part of it working. So it should. Let me do that. Okay. I think it's this one. So this is a simple chat message. It doesn't have any data at the moment, so it's not going to reply. But essentially, I can ask it a question, And in this case, it uses the OpenAI model, but I can change that and use a local model. I mean, this thing doesn't work anyway, so let's make changes. And this is an example of a simple one. If you just an AI agent, just a chat trigger. You can have different sorts of triggers. You can send your message through Telegram, Slack, WhatsApp, whatever you like. This one's simple because it just opens up a chat window here. Let's disconnect this because we said we want to use our own model. So we're not going to use OpenAI. We're going to use there. We're going to use Ollama, which is hosted in our account. So if I go there, let's make sure, yeah, it's hosted on my ironhide.lan. So physically hosted in my server. It's not going to an external AI. And I've got DeepSeek. Yeah, let's go down. So that's what we're going to query. Okay, so that's the model. Now it's not going anywhere external. That's the memory history. So every time we ask something, that's the context memory. So if you tell it to remember the last 5 or 10 or 15 conversations, it's going to remember that. So that if you ask a question that depends on a question previously, it's going to remember that. So that's the memory, which also I can self-host. Let's go there, Postgres sideswipe. So as you can see, that's again hosted locally in the other server and the sideswipe. Sorry, before closing that, I'm asking it to remember 10 questions.
Okay.
I can quite as easily put 100, but it'll depend on the use case. Because if you want to change topic, then obviously that doesn't help if it's too big.
Right.
Then we have a database called project data, which goes into a Superbase vector store. This is also hosted locally.
Okay.
And then let's get rid of that embedding model. And then we'll put a local embedding model over there, and same for that.
So just for the benefit of everyone, I guess embedding means you're converting a string of characters or a word into certain numerical representations that will create that multidimensional space of vectors in the vector database.
Very simply, I have a large document, a Word document that is, let's say, 50 pages. I want to put it in one place. And then I want that to be accessible when I ask a question to the large language model. I want the document to be accessible to the large language model in a way that it can read the document and give me an answer. Now, what the vector database does is stores it in a way that makes it accessible in that way to the large language model.
Right.
The embedding model essentially just helps structure that document. It stores it in the database, because we don't need to go into the detail of what a vector database is.
Of course.
Lots of technicalities in that. For us, that's a database. We have a document. So instead of sitting as a Word document, it goes into a database in a format that the language model, the AI, understands. Essentially, that's it. In very simplistic terms. So when you ask it a question, it goes to the AI agent, it goes to the model, says, okay, this is the question. These were the previous questions that we've answered. And this is the data that we have. And pushes all of that into the language model. Language model goes through all of that and says, okay, here's your answer, pushes it back, and then sends it back to our chat.
Okay. So your the project data module that you have got there, is that some kind of a special database, or is it a simple relational or NoSQL database?
So that's the node, that's the tool. It goes into this vector database, which is essentially a back on local. Let me open it up. Sorry, I haven't created a card for the vector database, but it's running in one of my Docker containers on sideswipe, I believe. I'm going to open it up so you can see what it looks like. So yeah, that's all of the Superbase ones. That's how we enter it. So yeah, essentially it's a table there, and it's just going to sit there.
Okay.
That's what's going to happen.
Okay.
So simple database, it's just going to go and sit over there. That's that database.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what the simple RAG model does. So completely self-hosted within your own server. So if it's like a large enterprise worried about sending data to whichever model, and here I picked up DeepSeek R1, which is a version of DeepSeek that's running completely locally. No data is going anywhere. I could have any model running in there that I like.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Olama is completely free and open source. So if we go into Olama and look at models, you can see all of the models that run there. So
And
yes,
increasingly, I think the whole point about AI, I think the open source has, I think from a scalable adoption of AI, I think more making it accessible. I think the whole point about open source is really taking the interest of the community. And there's a lot of, I guess, sometimes comparable to better models open source than you could even get commercially nowadays.
I think that's definitely the case, because if you just look at the DeepSeek R1 model, it is almost at par with the best models out there. In terms of open source, that's for large language models. In terms of audio and video models, I would say the open source models that are presently available are better than the commercial models. The commercial models are sort of going strong because they've got a proper website. You can go sign up and you can use them. The open source ones, you might struggle to find a consistent space where you can go and use them. So if you've got the hardware to run it, then you can outperform commercial models for
But
image.
this is where, so I'm going off tangent here a little bit, but the whole point about, if I look back selfishly within the UK was a great manufacturing hub years ago. I mean, even today, when you drive down the countryside, whether it be in Kent or in Surrey or any of the home counties, or even up north, right, anywhere across the country, you'll see loads of these small niche sub 100 million or sub 200 million companies, which are running for like decades now and very successful, loyal customer base. But they were very much stuck in the hardware world, whether it is for vehicles, whether it is for manufacturing, etc.
That is true, yes.
And they have failed. We as a country have failed to make the transition to digital beyond London and Manchester, Birmingham, and kind of the big cities. And the potential for jobs growth, innovation, digital services is immense. It's untapped. And I guess the whole point about this bit about local micro data centers, small data centers spread across the country, which are community based and kind of serve markets and demands, whether it be in gaming, whether it be in kind of community, like we're seeing lots of developments now, like housing developments across the country, and the potential to have, like you talked about open source, but leveraging open source to create services that benefit the community in a safe and scalable manner. I know that kind of, there's a lot of untapped opportunity in terms of job creation, innovation, which I think policymakers could take a little bit more deeper look at. And I think it'll really spur a lot of growth in the economy. What do you think about that?
Definitely. I think there's a lot that can happen in that area. Policy-wise, I don't entirely know. Maybe it needs a bit of thought in terms of what needs to happen policy-wise. But in terms of what needs to happen on the ground, the data center that you saw sitting behind my desk, it's not massive. It can go in a utility room in someone's house or wherever, and it's this particular server. At the moment, I'm using it. Everyone in the house is using it, but there's no reason everyone in the street couldn't use it. Yes. So in terms of services like ad blocking, essentially, I could go and talk to all of my neighbors and say, "Would you like to block all of your ads?" and do it that way. because when I'm out and about using my phone, mobile phone, I connect back onto my server purely for ad blocking. So the ad blocking that you've seen on the web page that we've just opened follows me when I'm out and about and not connected to my home network, as in not connected to my home Wi-Fi, but I'm still connected to my home network, which is why the ad blocking works. But it could work for the entire street. The server is more than powerful enough to support.
And we're not
even
talking GPUs here. We're
100,000.
talking
No, not GPUs, not
talking
GPUs.
about CPUs here.
This
Yeah.
Raspberry Pi
Yeah.
would support a whole street if you only run ad blocking on it. So it all depends on volume, isn't it? But this Raspberry Pi, a Raspberry Pi 4, which is, I don't know, 60, 70 quid, I think, would support a whole street. There's no reason it can't. Purely for that one function of ad blocking. And then if you the whole street puts in a data center in one of the houses, you could have all of the other features like the AI, the Agentic platform, and share that with the community. And I think something like that could really help bring get young kids interested. You could start with things like a Minecraft game server. Just set up a Minecraft game server, get people hooked in. You at least then know your neighbors and play with each other if you've got similar aged kids. And then once you sort of have that in a few places, then you've got the opportunity to integrate and make something bigger out of it, because there's a lot of processing power sitting in there.
You've gone much beyond technology here. Like some of the things you are saying make me think like in the news, we hear about child safety. We hear about, is my child safe online? But then you can't really, you've been talking in Australia, for example, they're banning social media for children under 13, right? There is talk about similar things here in the UK and other places. But then you can't really, it's like a tension you to manage, right? Children still have to be exposed to online services. They have to be exposed because that's the future of us. But what you just said, you got your community and your neighbors who are similar age children. All children want to do is play and make friends and grow and learn technology. You give them an ability which you put in suitable community controls. You protect children, but you let them grow and evolve as well.
Exactly. So the whole concept of having a server shared between a community, or at least a little cul-de-sac somewhere, is because it's an extension to the safe space of your home. Because yes, within the home it's a safe space to the extent possible, because kids can always go onto YouTube or taking YouTube as an example, but can go on the internet, and how much controls do you have over that? So if you want to extend the space, the safe space in a meaningful way, and it's communal, then they get the exposure to a little more than what you're directly controlling using parental controls. It also gives a little bit of for them to explore a little bit more and network within the community, but it's still a safe space because you essentially know people sort of living around you.
Yeah.
Rather than just being either within the house completely blocked or completely global. I think a step which you can somewhat manage within the community is, I think, one step up, and it just gives a little bit extra freedom, and at the same time builds up the interest. If the kids are going to play Minecraft and someone's going to set up a Minecraft server, it's going to get the adults involved as well to set up the server, and then you're going to have a tournament on a Sunday, and then that sort of thing. And AI can come in, and you can do more stuff with it. That's the whole point.
Yeah, the whole point of self-service, and I think all the whole point about reskilling in terms of what is the impact of AI on society in terms of traditional jobs. I think the ability to some of this spurs that reskilling potential in the community as well. I think job creation. I think we may be going off tangent, but I guess it's so much to talk about this topic.
You've got a point. You've got a point, because the reason I'm saying is this, because from when we were completely industrial and producing all sorts of things in this country, we've moved away quite a bit, and now looking at young people, our school system is still very much aligned to the, should I say, industrial revolution. It's sort of, in school you still, that's how people are brought up. Because if you look at the education system in the college, and you can do very well in that system, and then you come out and suddenly in the real world, when you need to get a job, things have changed, things have moved on. And now with AI, that's going to happen even faster, and it's happening even faster. I mean, even for you and me, we've, in my IT job, sort of project managing, change managing, it seemed like, yeah, that's fine. I could do this for years and years. And now suddenly, I can just sort of, working with AI, I can think of, why was I spending so much time doing something on an Excel file that I can just get my AI to do? And it's going to take about 1/10 of the time. It's fully repeatable, and it doesn't make mistakes. I mean, to the extent of, basic human errors. It's always going to be garbage in, garbage out. But, it's changing so fast. I think if we don't do something drastic, like you're saying, communal involvement in AI, I think there's a very good chance that people in this country might get left behind.
And cause a bit of a social kind of challenge, I guess, over a period of time.
I think it already is a bit of a social
It's
challenge.
But
once you start looking into it, as to how fast AI is going, I think the biggest thing will happen as soon as, or probably even happening, because people use computers for daily web browsing, writing emails. Microsoft is going to put Copilot, or has it already? I don't know, because you might have seen I use Linux. Windows is just for the clients. As soon as the Copilot integration into Windows becomes mainstream and everyone uses it, and Copilot keeps prompting, saying, "Oh, you've written this, but maybe write this in an email," or when it starts doing that, everyone will use it. It'll become second nature. And if people are not glued up to it, you're gonna get left behind. Just, I think that's where it's going.
Philosophical point there, but I completely kind of empathize, and I relate to what you're saying. Yeah. Now going back to where we were talking about your flow.
Yes.
Can we see that, like how it will work?
Let's go back to that. Yeah. So this first flow, it triggers. There's a schedule. That clock symbol basically means it triggers at some point in time.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I think just conscious of the complexity of it, I was thinking maybe we could look at the other one you were showing, where you had that document and the chat, and right, which is simple probably for people to relate. And we are also going from scratch here, effectively.
We are going from scratch. The only thing is I don't have anything sitting in the project data because I'm.
Oh, you don't have it. Okay.
Yeah. So it's not gonna. It's not gonna.
That's
fine. Anything. We could go through the other one quickly.
Yeah, let's do that.
So yeah, it triggers off. Let's say at 9 o'clock. It's going to create a story, and it's going to create a title and description. Yeah. Very simple until this point. You could do this on ChatGPT directly. And it's going to go in this database over here. So it's created a story, which is that. Yeah. We just take city, clever boy named Ethan, blah, blah, blah. Very simple set. Yeah, it's created a Inventors Challenge. Okay, that's the title, and that's the description for YouTube. So Description basically means it's got some hashtags, it's got some inline emojis and that sort of thing. Yeah, very simple. And it's created some tags, so that sort of thing. The next thing it does is then narrates it. I have a narrator running again locally, takes the story, pushes it through the narrator. This is where it speeds it up and creates an audio file. So now you've
these
got,
two workflows are not connected to each other, so they are
no,
two
they're not
different
connected.
workflows.
Yeah.
Okay.
So reads from the database, goes and checks if is there a story that's ready to go. Once it's found the story, pushes it through the narrator, saves an audio file. Done. The next thing it transcribes it. So it takes the audio and breaks it up into words so that it gets the timing for each of the words so that it knows when each word is said. And what it also, narrates, sorry, not there, goes over there, breaks it up, transcribes it, and then basically it does, what it does here is creates a few files that we will later use to stitch everything together. Essentially, we're just playing with some timing here. Figure out when we want to show a particular image and when we want to have some text on the screen. So just timings. The next thing we are doing is here. So it goes and pulls the story, the transcribed story, and then it goes and creates some image descriptions. So it goes and checks the length of the transcription. So from 60 seconds, it now has come down to, let's say, anywhere between 25 to 45 seconds. And then for each 5 seconds, it's going to say, I feed it in the whole story and say, okay, for this 5 seconds, give me a background. And then it's going to go and use the same Google model to say, okay, let's come up with a description of a background image. So let's say we've created 6 background images, for example. And then I'm going to push it into the database again, which does something later. I'm using a model called Flux, and that's another API that just creates images based on a prompt. So I've created the description. So this is AI prompting AI in this case. So rather than me typing in and saying I want a photo that looks like this, this is AI coming up with a description based on the story to tell the AI model what to generate, and then that goes and generates it. The next bit is where it all pulls it together. That's actually running on a different workflow, which is not part of this. I'll quickly show you that. That's running on a different N8 instance because it uses a local command. It doesn't have any AI in that, so this something very short. This actually builds the video. The only reason is there's a command line thing that is only available in the physical desktop that I'm working on. I've not pushed it over today. So once that is done, that is now built. The video itself is built. The next step is QA. So we trigger this workflow. It gets, so going back to this project, so that's built. So if you look at the history, that has been narrated, that has been transcribed, the previous one. Those are the durations. Those have been sent to the Flux queue, which is over there, the Flux dispatcher. That's the queue, that's the description. So that would be a prompt. Group of kids laughing hysterically, pointing at book of shows. And then that gets enhanced a little bit and sent to the Flux dispatcher, which the Flux generator, which generates the image. So as you can see, all of those images have been created. Going back to the main database. So now we know narrator, transcribe, we have the duration, we have sent it to the image generator. Now it generates the final video. So this is where the final video gets done by this other workflow in N8N. QA time. So these are the ones that have been QA'd. The way this works is picks up the video. So it reads the final video and sends the video to Telegram, where I get an approval. And then if true, it goes and sets it as QA.
So that's
No,
your human in the loop
that's the
intervention.
human in the
So
loop
you are still
intervention.
doing the final test yourself.
Yeah,
You are
because
very happy or not.
even when I publish them, essentially it's meant to be for kids. So I just do a final check to see that it's nothing severely objectionable in the videos, and then I click yes, and then that's another workflow that at one point in time picks up anything that is approved. So anything that has a timestamp on the QA, which means it has been QA'd, and it's going to publish it on YouTube. So yeah, that's the last workflow. Creates the link, read the file, uploads the video, done.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I've got similar ones for the long format videos and that sort of things as well. But yeah, essentially this thing can do the whole process on its own. And every day at 9 in the morning, I get a message on Telegram. Show you what it looks like. Does it come on the screen? I think it has.
Yeah. That's
like that
kind of
yeah, it comes like that and says all of that. Approve. I click on approve, and yeah, that's done.
So can you show us your channel? Like, how many videos have you created? Like, and I'm presuming these are all on YouTube. I think you said that.
Yes, it is on YouTube. Like I said, very experimental channel, so not really done a lot on it. Let's see. Hopefully, it has come up on the screen now. Yeah. So content, relatively new-ish channel. So when did I start publishing? So 83, one video a day. So I want to say sometime in December is when it started.
I think geography quiz is quite picking up.
Geography
133 videos.
yeah, it's not a bad one. But very surprisingly, shorts. The first short that I created was on 24th of February. Like I said, so I started with N8N. When did we say? Last week of January. Yeah, last week of January, wasn't it? When we started N8N.
Yeah.
The first short that I created using that workflow that I showed you on the 24th of February. The first upload, so it would have been a couple of days before that, maybe 21st, 22nd. And obviously, at the time, it just created the video, and then I would manually upload it. And now I've gone on to add the other workflows where it does the approval process and manually uploads it. So yeah, that's a bit of refinement over the last, not very long, is it?
And I want to share something with you. I think this is excellent because I obviously became aware of it when we had this conversation about anything, right?
Yeah.
And obviously I went on my own journey of trying to discover, took a couple of weeks, nothing seemed to be working for me. And then, I've been speaking on WhatsApp and others. So I managed to create my first integration, obviously. And then I said, I guess the best way to do this will be to show my screen, I guess what I mean. So this is what I have managed to create recently. So if I go onto my, I guess, window, which is the best way to show this. If I share my window for my browser, which is actually this one, right there, and then share this with you. Actually, I'll share the tab, that'll be easier. So I have this link here. What I'm going to do here is I'm also going to share the other tab, and I'm going to go to YouTube first, right?
Okay.
And let's say we have one of the very controversial videos of late, which is about our bit of Zelensky, right? Zelensky Trump meeting, right? So if I go to Zelensky Trump meeting, for argument's sake, let's say it's a shouting match. Oh, by the way, we add
there you go.
I wish I had your ad blocker and I wouldn't see the ad. But
He broken this ceasefire. He killed our people,
video,
and he
7 million. But then if I now say I want to just, I'm not sure whether this is, well, I think it's a shouting match video. But if I take that in here, I hope my workflow hasn't broken. And I give your email, which is Please remind me your email again. Is that correct?
KANIFF. I'm not
I
seeing
double
that screen. Are you on the other screen now?
Oh, sorry. I am on the other screen. So
Yeah, there we
at
go.
gmail.com, right?
Oh, yeah, that's the one.
When I do that, something is going to happen, which, to give you an idea, is the following. It's a form which you saw. It's going to extract information and do a transcript from it. And let me not spoil the surprise. Oh, I was not sharing that on the screen. So I'm going to submit, and then we'll see what has happened. Shortly, you will get an email. And I will verify that you have got the email on my side by going into this bit here, share tab instead. So let me see whether you have got your video, your email or not. Sometimes it does. Yeah, you did get an email, and you will get a document. So why don't you share your screen and show us what you have received?
Right.
I am going to stop sharing my screen. And by the way, this is sitting on my local MacBook Pro
That's
laptop.
running on the laptop, isn't it? Yes. Yes,
So you got
that's
this,
the thing, isn't it?
this
It runs
document.
everywhere.
If you open this document
I'll
now,
share the document. Right, let's go and open it.
so I made it kind of romantic poetry.
Oh, this is the previous
no,
one.
this is the different one. This is the previous one. This is the previous one. If you go back to your email, hopefully you should have received a new email. Yeah, that's the one. So,
okay,
the first output there is a romantic poem summary, right, of the discussion. And let's see how accurate it is. Obviously, a clash of views did indeed take place, didn't it? A leader scared by fire and loss, a story to unfold. He speaks of broken backs and pain, a nation torn asunder, while shadows of ocean peace up tragically asunder. Okay, an offer was definitely made. We remember the offer, right? A hand outstretched. Okay, accusations are really flying. I can remember. It's a bitter wind. Obviously, the weight of nations are hanging, basically. It's a gamble, a plea of thanks. So all I'm trying to say is that fun things, make a parody of videos, right? And it took me, I didn't even listen, like I just took the video. It generated, I have a social media post here of the whole thing. And more interestingly, I've got an entire transcript here. And let me actually show you how this has happened by sharing my screen now. And I share my screen. And all I'm trying to say is that I started this after speaking to you.
Yes.
Right? I have never used this tool.
Yeah.
And I, after obviously going through a journey where things weren't working, I like until this Monday, I couldn't create any of this flow. Right? And today's Sunday. So what has happened here is that I've got a basically a simple block, and if you go, you'll find this. It's a ready-made block. It gets a simple YouTube URL extraction.
Yeah.
And then it basically this bit of JavaScript code here, which you can go to. All I do when I do this is I just go to code assistant and create a JavaScript code. And I paste here.
What I want to do.
Yeah, and then it's generated a transcript, obviously, and then does a bit of splitting out. It's because it's a live thing. I mean we can, but it basically splits the transcripts out, concatenates in a manner that this AI agent can create a poem from it, right? And I've given instructions to create a poem, to summarize the text so it can be uploaded to social media posts. In fact, I could have given it another thing to create a parody. Like I was thinking, like you have got this YouTube short creation, right? Now, why don't we create a parody of that video and publish it as a short, right? So maybe one of the instruction could be create a 60-second or 30-second or 60 seconds. 60 seconds is good, I think, right?
60 seconds because well, you've made it fast.
Video script, video script, right? Parody script or a parody poem, maybe. Is that will that be right? Parody script.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Maybe, right? So if we do that, I'm gonna.
AI is pretty good at figuring out what you want, so that
Yeah.
should be enough of a prompt.
And you know what? The thing is that we are making changes on the fly here, isn't it?
Yes.
So now let's see what happens. We're going to take the same video that we had before, which is this one, Control C.
Save
We
it.
are
Save
going,
the workload.
yeah, we have got to save it. You are right. So let me go there and save it. That's saved, right? We are now going to take the same video. I'm not sharing the other screen, but I'll share that in a moment.
Okay.
But if I go back to where I was before, which is this one, am I still sharing? What are you seeing on your screen? You are seeing the correct thing. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to close this.
In the workflow, yeah.
And then I'm going to just copy the link, which is the production URL here. In fact, let's do a bit of we're going to show it step by step what is happening. Yeah. So I'm going to not make it active. And I'm going to do a test here on this one. Okay. So I'm going to run this button here, which will obviously open it up. You're not seeing my wider screen, are you? So I'm going to share my wider screen instead of just the tab. So I'm going to do stop sharing and share my entire screen, which is this one, share. So you should see my whole screen now. Now, when we are on the screen, obviously I had this pop-up where I'm going to enter this one. It's not this one. So Control A, C. I'm going to take the video, which is this one, and we're going to go back to our pop-up screen. I'm going to put your email again.
It's a
Right?
double F.
A double F.
Double F, yes.
Right? Okay. And I'm going to send it. Let's see what happens this time. To verify what has happened, I'm going to go in here again. Hopefully, it should probably be able to do a duplication because it's already a file here. Let me know if you received the email. You will not receive the email because we are doing a manual trigger. This is what we're going to show here. Because you just submit it, right?
True.
Now, if I click here, I can see the input, which is that URL, right? I'm going to test this setup. When I do that, I can see that I got the YouTube URL generated here, right? Then I go to the next step because we're doing it manually. And when I click that, we will see that I have got information about the YouTube video, including this ID, which is what actually distinguishes any video, right?
Yeah.
And it's got certain references for some reason, some politics and society. I don't know how it got it, but maybe it's there in the information about the YouTube video. Probably it's picking it up from there. And you can see like there's been no error. So the green arrow here is a success route. So one item has been sent to the transcription service here. Now, when I do, nothing is in the output. All we do here is, I'm going to move this icon here, is test this one. So I'm taking the video ID, I'm calling the transcription service. There's no code, right? This is an automated service. And when I'm running that, you will see the transcription getting generated on the output here. So this is all the transcription generated, right? So this is what has happened. Now I go to the next step, whereby I'm going to split this content. So we'll see what that means in a manner. So this is what the splitting is. So it takes the duration, like how much, what language. So splitting it, like we sign exchange of prisoners, but at 6 seconds. Except it's a 6-second duration effectively. I think that's what it is trying to do. Like, what's it, how much? I don't know, I'm reading it, but it does something like some things. But so then I am joining things together. When I'm joining things together, what it does is there's no other code here, but it's basically concatenated
All of the text, yes.
text. And then now that bit has to be sent to Gemini. The one thing to call out is that any of these nodes have access to any of the previous nodes. So you can see all of the different nodes here. So you can pick and drop fields from any of them to do any logic thing, which is the other thing I learned. I didn't realize that before. But here, when I call this guy, you saw the system prompt already earlier on about this was the prompt, right? This is what it was. But if we run this, what we will see is that we're having Gemini working alongside the AI agent. It's going to take a while. We'll see something has happened. Now, when we look at the output here, you can see it in table form, JSON form, or schema form. But if we look at the table form, I think it would have done something, okay, baby, let's get things straight. I think this is the parody coming out. The whole war thing, it's a real drag, man. A total bummer. Okay, so there's a parody happening. Now I'm going to go to my Google Drive thing. What I did first here is that this was meant to generate the Google file. So I'm going to do that, and I will see the Google file ID generated here. So that's the file generated. But I wanted to obviously send an email to you, but also give you access to that file. So I have another Google Drive. So I'm not going to send the email first. I'm going to run this first. So when I do this, so okay, by the way, when I ran that, I should see a new file generated in my, so I'm, in this case, I'm retaining the information, right? So it got created on my Google Drive. And then when I go back here and I click this, what you would observe is that you would get a notification on your email saying that this particular document has been shared with you. So here you see it's shared with you now. You would have got that because I can see it's shared with you. I can see your email address here as editor, right? Because you are obviously, if you request that, you should be the editor of that. Now, then what happens is if I go back here, I can also send you an email. Obviously, my email format is not properly formatted, as you could see, but you would have got the email. But let's now look at the document that got created. The document says, obviously, the first part of the romantic element doesn't change. The parody script is interesting. The groovy Oval Office, pop art everywhere. President Donny is wearing a Nehru jacket, snapping his fingers. Okay, baby, let's get one thing straight. The whole war thing, it's a real drag, man. A total bummer. Well, it thinks Boris is the Ukrainian president. I don't know. And to make something about it, looking stressed, wearing a slightly too, okay, some of his hallucination probably.
Yeah.
But groovy cats. But I guess what I'm trying to say here is that, what about the ceasefire? Okay, it's a gas, Tony. I guess, you know what, think about it. This is entertainment at the end of the day. I'm just thinking, why don't you create a parody of some of the videos now?
Yeah. No, this is a great idea.
Where can this go? We can generate content, like we can create some videos and we can kind of
serious videos like these, generate a parody, create a YouTube channel and publish it. And just get AI to do it. I just get AI to do the whole lot. You just need to stitch all of these bits together.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to get here is the simplicity of it. Like here again, my first pointer to you originally, you are a user of AI, right? But you are a user to create content which is meaningful, which provides value, like entertainment value, education value. Your videos, your channel is all about engaging children in the right manner. But there is so much of
it's an experiment for me, but yes, we could definitely do something a bit more serious with this. Absolutely.
Yeah. Right. That's a hell of a conversation today. We've been speaking for the last 2 hours almost now, I think. Just under 2 hours.
Wow, yeah. That's that was very nice. I enjoyed this. We should do some deep dives and talk a bit more about these things sometime.
So I guess, what do we sign off with for our audience? I think we would like to conduct more of this. I think share our experiences. I think we started from zero as well on this thing, right?
Absolutely did. Yes.
We are on a journey. We would like others to join us in the journey. I guess we have experiences in technology, programs, projects across multiple different kinds of clients, different kinds of employers. We are all for enabling AI to be scaled in a trustworthy and safe manner, and in a manner that adds value to communities. It acts as a cohering force for communities. We are here to kind of help support and take people along in the journey. And also, if anyone wants to work with us on basically creating new channels and a new kind of ways of doing business, we are here to help, right? That's, I guess.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. I think you've summed that up very well, Mondweep. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely help people in setting this kind of stuff up if anyone's interested, locally with small Raspberry Pis like these. Yeah, it can start from there, and if you have an old laptop lying around somewhere, plug it in. That can be your machine that runs your AI, and more than happy to help set all of that up.
And I think I remember I think we were discussing about creating some kind of a playground for people who might have an idea.
So the other server that I showed you, which essentially is a playground. So at the moment, I spin it up if I want to try something that could possibly be destructive to outside of its container space or outside of the virtual machine space. I spin that up. But yeah, I mean, that server is just sitting there. I could create a playground with an 8N, and then I'm sort of going to have different bits and pieces installed so that people can, if you come to us, create a login. Like I created a login on my N8N instance that runs on the server for you. So yeah, we could create a login. People could come in and use it and see what it's like, and we could have a chat and go through some of these workflows, or if anyone's got any ideas, we'll give it a go and see how it goes, see where we get from there.
Build a community, I guess. That's all about it, right? Open source, we talked about it. Community, we talked about it. Enablement. Very much enjoyed it, I guess. Any final thoughts before we sign off for the day?
No, I think this was really great, and yeah, let's hope we keep exploring more on AI.
Lovely. So until next time, then we shall meet again. Yeah. So lovely. So this is again Mondweep Chakravarti and Javid Rahman here. We've been talking to you about various things AI, and we're sharing our journey with you, and I guess we want you to share your journey with us, and for us to build something of value over the next coming weeks, months, and years, hopefully. So lovely.